Mayor Moore, you recently celebrated your 18th anniversary of being cancer-free, October 6, 2006. I'm going to ask you to go back even further than that.
Well, I was married with 3 young kids, and I was extremely fit. A few years prior, I had started getting into jazzercise, and Angie Maxwell had a class up the road here, and for probably 3 or 4 years, I got really fit, really in shape, and I decided I was going to run for county commissioner in January of 2006. Signed up to run, and within a week, I was taking a shower, and I noticed on the side of my neck, it felt like a little pea in my neck, and I thought, I wonder what that is. And a couple of days later, I made an appointment with my doctor, and he looked me over and said, oh, I think it's just a drainage issue, you know. I'm going to give you a prescription. It'll take that down, and if not, come back and see me in a month. Well, by that time, the campaign was getting to going, and it was still there a month later. And I thought, well, I'm going to wait. The primary's in early May. I'll wait and see if it's still there. So towards the middle of May, I made another appointment with the doctor and went to go see him. And I said, you know, that knot's still there. And he's like, oh, I still don't think it's anything. You know, let me give you another prescription. And I was smart enough, and I guess by that time old enough to stand up and say, you know what, I don't want to take a chance. Let's do something more than just coming back 30 days from now. So they scheduled a biopsy, and had the biopsy done, I believe, on a Thursday, and they told me it'd be a couple of days before they got back with me. Unfortunately, that was Memorial Weekend, and so the Monday was off, and I'm anxiously waiting to hear the results. And on Tuesday, I still hadn't heard anything, and I called the office where the lab was taking the biopsy, and they said, oh, your doctor hasn't called you yet. And I'm like, no. And they said, well, he'll be giving you a call. And I'm like, all right. Well, the next day turned into Wednesday, and I used to have Jerry's Restaurant up here on 10th Street. I was working that day, and I remember it was 3 o'clock on May 31st, 2006, and I get a phone call, and it's Dr. Burke, and he's like, Mike, I've got some bad news. And I'm walking out the back door of Jerry's. I'm out in the parking lot, and he says, unfortunately, you have cancer. And I remember I went down to my knees on the parking lot, and from there, you know, you go from every question in the world of how did this happen, why me, and so the next step was he made an appointment for me. I went to see Dr. Burke with my wife, and like explain to me what I'm going through, what, you know, because never really dealt with cancer. And he said, well, it's generally this type of cancer you have. It looks like it's you know, a heavy smoker. Well, I wasn't a heavy smoker. I thought, okay, Jerry's Restaurant used to be a lot of smoke in there. Could this be secondhand smoke? And he's like, no, it's not secondhand smoke, but it's stage 3 cancer, and it's in your lymph nodes, and it's going to begin to spread around. And I'm like, well, okay, what do I do? And he says, I'm going to make you an appointment with an oncologist. And my wife says, what are his chances? What do you think his chances are of surviving? And he said, I think he's got a 50-50 shot of making it a year. So needless to say, my wife at the time lets out a huge scream, and I'm like, all right, calm down, calm down. We leave there and go home, and, you know, every question you can think to ask of yourself, you're asking. And you're feeling sorry for yourself. I'm thinking about my 3 kids. They're 6, 8, and 10. Who's going to take care of them? So a few days later, we had the appointment with Dr. Ham, the oncologist. We go over to his office, and same kind of question. And, you know, like, what do you think my chances are? And he said, well, what'd your primary doctor say? He said I had a 50-50 shot. He said, I think your primary doctor is way too optimistic. Well, my wife at the time, again, lets out a huge scream. And we're like, what do you mean? And he said, you've got about a 15% chance of making it 12 months.
Wow.
And again, children 6, 8, and 10, not a smoker. I'm in great health. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I had a radiologist appointment a few days after that. And I went to Dr. Albrink, who used to be over here, and he wanted to know what I'd been told. And I shared with him both my primary doctor and my oncologist's point of view. And, I said, what would you do? And he said, let me think about it. And a couple of days went by. And I will always be indebted to Dr. Albrink. He called me it was after 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And he said, you put me on the spot. He said, locally, we don't like to tell people to go elsewhere from the area. But you asked me what I would do in your situation. He said, if I had young kids, I'd get down to MD Anderson. I'm like, well, how do I do that? He said, would you like for me to make an appointment for you? I was like, sure. So within a few weeks, I'm on a plane. I'm going to Houston, Texas, and get down there, and it's unlike anything I can explain or that you can envision around here. It's called a medical center, and there's hospitals everywhere you look. And Houston, Texas is one of the leading areas to go for fighting cancer. And go in, listen to what the doctors say. Actually, I took a tape recorder with me because I'm thinking, I'm going to be so nervous I'm not going to remember what they say. And, they just told me, we're going to tackle this. And we're going to knock you down as far as we can take you, and then we're going to build you back up. But, you're going to be going through a lot of changes. We're going to take you through chemotherapy. We're going to take you through radiation. And I'm still running for county commissioner. And I remember on July 3rd, I was in a hospital bed with an IV hooked up to me. My chemo treatments were like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they were like 9 hours a day. You laid there in bed with an IV. And it was July the 3rd. That's my daughter Shelby's birthday. And I had dropped my phone in a cup of water that day, so I wanted to call her. I couldn't call her. So again, you think you're a healthy guy, you want to reach out and wish your daughter a happy birthday, and I couldn't do it. It was pitiful. And I thought to myself, you can either feel sorry for yourself or you can fight this thing. And they wanted me to preserve all of my energy. They said, this is going to knock you down so hard. You need to save your energy. Just keep coming to these treatments. And I thought, no, I want my body and my mind to be as strong as I possibly could. And I continued to work out. I've told Angie Maxwell many, many times from Jazzercise, she saved my life because I knew if my mind was strong and my body was strong, I could beat anything. And, even though the doctor here was telling me, you're not going to be around 12 months from now, I thought, the hell I'm not. I'm going to fight this. And I was running 2 or 3 miles a day every day. I was lifting weights. I was doing everything I could. And I was exhausted, but I felt good about myself. And the chemo did everything they tell you it's going to do. I was bald within 2 weeks' time. And but I laughed about it, and I came home and I told the kids, well, this tells us the medicine's working. Dad looks different now. I've lost, at that time about 20 pounds. I've lost my hair, but this is good because it means the medicine's doing what it should. And the 4-H fair was about that time, the county 4-H fair, and my slogan was, I'm for Mike Moore. And I told my kids, there was a blue Sharpie on the kitchen counter. I said, everybody's going to be staring at your dad. Let's have some fun. So I had them on the back of my bald head in blue Sharpie, write, I'm for Mike Moore. And we walked around the 4-H fair, petted the cows, petted the pigs. I thought, I'm not going to be that guy that puts on a hat and hides from this. People knew I was dealing with cancer. I was Jerry's Restaurant. I got, you saw me every day. Yeah, I didn't look so good, but I kept that smile on my face because I was fighting for something. I was fighting for my 3 kids. And we went through the chemo. I dropped, it got down, I think at that time, maybe 35 pounds. They said, all right, go home and rest up. And in a couple of weeks, we want you to come back here and we're going to do radiation. Well, I'm like, what's radiation? And it's basically, they built a mask over me and they pinpointed 3 separate areas where they were going to laser and shoot the radiation into my neck. It wasn't painful, and it only took 10 or 15 minutes a day, but it was every day, Monday through Friday, for 6 weeks, and it just sucked your energy out of you. And they told me after a few days, you're not going to be able to eat. And so they put a feeding tube in me because within 3 days I couldn't eat. We put a feeding tube, and if somebody had taken a picture of me, you wouldn't recognize me now. And they took these bottles of Ensure, and you had a funnel, and you basically just poured your meal into your funnel. That was the only way I could get calories. And dropped some more weight. And on October the 6th of 2006, I had my last radiation treatment. I was 45 pounds less weight. I was a skinny man. But I got off that plane in Louisville, Kentucky, and my kids were waiting for me at the Louisville airport. I hadn't gotten to see them in several weeks because I didn't have the power to come back home. So, anybody was walking by, they saw a grown man crying, hugging his 3 kids. But October the 6th, 2006, a very special day for me. And, I think about the different ways you could have approached it. And I'm glad I had this, heck no, I'm not going to listen to the doctor. I'm not giving up. And, Shelby, Allie, and Garen, here we are now, 25, 27, and 29. I became a grandpa a little over a year ago.
In that political race?
And that political race I won. And, I wondered at the time when I had cancer, you find yourself, like I said, you're asking yourself so many questions. What's my purpose? What does God want me to do? And the restaurant business, I had 30 years, very good life, hard work, but it was a good living. But I thought God wants more from me, and is it the county commissioner? Well, the county commissioner then turned into the mayor, and I still ask myself, what is your purpose? When that grandbaby was born, September 20th of 2023, I think I know what my purpose is and what God meant for me to do. And Dad always told me, your family name is the most important thing you own. And I lost my mom last week, and now I look around and I'm the oldest generation of the Moore family now. And, growing up, I had a mom and a dad, I had a mamaw, I had a great-grandmother. I guess, in the course of time, we go from being the child of the family to now the older part of the family. And Dad's wisdom has been cemented into me. There's people that are going to do some incredible things, but your family is the most important thing. And I never took the advice of, at the time, my pastor or the doctor. They wanted me to go home and tell my children, Dad's not going to be around 12 months from now. I thought, how can you do that? How can I? So my kids didn't know.
So you didn't tell them at all?
Didn't know, and I think it was in 2011, Gilt Edge Church invited me to come speak and tell my story of what God means to me. And my wife came with me, and my 3 kids were there, and they're in, the second or third row, and I'm up there talking about going through this horrific cancer battle. The kids never knew that their dad wasn't supposed to be there. And, it was off the cuff. I'm just telling my story. But about halfway through it, when I'm telling people the doctor says you got a 15% chance of making it 12 months, my children and my wife and half the congregation are out there crying. And I'm like, I'm not telling this story to make anybody sad. I'm telling this story because I want people to see there's no reason to ever give up. I'm here today. I thank God every day for the life I've got. And no matter what you're going through in life, you can beat it. Just don't let somebody else determine when it's time to give up. And here I am now, I just turned 60. I'm in my 4th term as mayor. I love this job. I love the idea of growing up in Jeffersonville. Oak Park, the subdivision I grew up in, I was just one of dozens of kids running around the neighborhoods. And to think, growing up, the family business was here at Jerry's Restaurant, and in getting the opportunity to serve as the mayor, it's pretty cool. And my kids now, at the age they are, there's an appreciation for what Jeffersonville has. We've made it a fun place for kids, for adults. I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So, people have different reasons, purposes in life. I think I've found mine. I've got my dream job. I've got 3 incredible kids, and now they call me Grandpa.
Do you feel like you got a gift from cancer?
I think we all have a gift. What that is different for different people. But as crazy as it may sound, cancer turned my life around. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I wear this bracelet every day. It's a Lance Armstrong bracelet, Live Strong. My kids got this for me years and years ago. But, everybody's going to be challenged. Everybody's going to have bad days. And another thing my dad always, would talk about. And, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And you go home into the day, you feel beat down. You know what? There's somebody out there waiting for you. There's somebody out there that needs your help. And I think cancer made me into a better man, a better father, a better friend, a better neighbor. And it makes you value life. What can I do to make a difference? And don't be that person that walks around with a frown on your face and angry at everybody. Go find something. Go find your purpose. Find a reason to celebrate your life. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get too biblical, but we're all here for a reason. Do you want to be remembered as somebody who did something positive, or do you want to be somebody who's remembered because they were always down on their luck and upset? We all go through tough times. How are you going to come out of them? And cancer, I was recreated, and I appreciate life now like I've never used to.
It's been 18 years, and just even looking at you and hearing you talk about it, it's like, you've carried that. It hasn't gotten old. You haven't walked away from that belief. Like, it's brand new for you. It's palpable.
Well, I was that guy in 2006 that was laying in bed asking God why, feeling sorry for myself. And again, you can either give up or you can strap on a pair of tennis shoes and say, I'm going to fight. And you know what, your chances are a whole lot better when your outlook is, I'm going to fight, than I'm going to give up.
Do you remember those moments, though? Because I think cancer, like you said, it's applicable to, everybody has a cancer in their life, whether it's the literal or just something that this burden. Do you remember those moments of just, I'm done, and how did you?
I spent, MD Anderson had a chapel in in the hospital. And the church I went to back home, First Christian Church, gave me a cross when I was first diagnosed. And I took that cross with me everywhere and every day. And I was in that chapel every day, sometimes twice a day. And I would look around the room and I would count the different crosses throughout this little chapel. I think there was 9 of them. And it just made me remember what Jesus went through. And I found myself, I grew up going to church, I did Sunday school, I did all of that, but I'd never had the feeling of there is something greater out there, there is somebody looking over me, and if I'm willing to give a fight, God's willing to give a fight. And I want to be careful here because I think sometimes people who are elected to office take religion too far. I'm not trying to preach religion on somebody that doesn't want to hear it, but for me, we all need something to have hope in. And I felt like I was looking out for, and as long as I was willing to put up a fight, God was there with me. And that chapel made me stronger. When I came out of there, I had a more sense of, I've got a purpose. I've got 3 kids at home needing their dad. So there's a lot of why me, but for the most part, that was very early on. Once I got to MD Anderson and I heard the doctors tell me we're going to kick this thing's ass, I bought in. I bought into it, and today I still talk to people who are just diagnosed. They've heard my story and I get phone calls. I had a good friend just finish up radiation 2 weeks ago, and he went through everything, and I told him, here's what radiation's going to do to you. And it was a struggle for him, but he got through it. But you know, everything you do in life, there's a positive side and there's a negative side. And I feel like, you know, do you want to be a negative, sad person? Because everybody gets beat up. Are you going to be the one that allows it, or are you going to be the one that stands up and says, heck no, I'm fighting? And good things happen to people that stand up for themselves.
Couldn't agree more. And I'm one of those people who got that opportunity. I mean, it chokes me up a little bit that going through my own fight, that you took that time.
Well, it's, you know, now you need to pass it on.
Absolutely.
So over the next 30 years, you identify with somebody who's going through a struggle. I think, you know, we've learned something. We need to pass it on.
Did you find that giving to other people took you out of yourself?
It made me feel good because I recognized people saw I grew from it, and I was cured. And they wanted to know, how did you do it? What was the path? And I told many, many people, if they tell you to take it easy and rest your body, don't be afraid to do the opposite. Because I've always felt the stronger I am mentally and physically, the more apt I am to fight something bad off. Whether it's, you know, something bad in the newspaper, something bad going on with your job, you know, don't beat yourself down. You know, if you're not going to build yourself up, don't expect other people to build yourself up. Exactly. So politics has been downright nasty. I've had some real evil people come after me. And Dick Jones, an old friend of mine, told me 13, 14 years ago, Mike, these people that are trying to bring you down and trying to trash you, they have no idea what you've gone through. This isn't going to touch you. And I thought, you know what, he's right. If I can beat cancer, I can beat anything.
And you didn't just beat cancer, you beat a diagnosis of death.
Yeah, stage 3, it's bad stuff. If you feel sorry for yourself, other people are going to feel sorry for yourself. Yeah. So keep your chin up, keep fighting, and don't ever, you know, whether it's cancer or anything down the road that you want to do, don't let somebody else tell you you can't do it. You know, you're going to be the one that determines it. And, what kind of fight do you have in you? Give it all you got, and you're going to come out better on the other side.
It's funny how things have changed since 2006. One of the pieces of advice my own oncologist gave me was get out there and if you can, go exercise. Good. And keep doing that. And I mean, I believe that is part of why I am here. But you have continued. I mean, there are people, fittest mayor in the region. I mean, well, but that's part of your lifestyle.
Yes, I've felt all along, but this reinforced it. And the stronger I am, I'm 60 years old. Every morning I get up, I do 60 push-ups. I still do bench pressing. I still curl. I'm not doing it because I'm vain. I'm doing it because I want my mind and my body strong. And the stronger your body is, the more confident you're going to be. People like to be around happy people. And the best way I can be productive and be happy is to make sure I'm feeling good, I'm exercising, and I want to live another 30 years. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep going, and the day that I can't, I need to step out of this job.
What do you say to the people who will look at something, whether it is cancer or something else, and say, the what if? I know people, and I'm not going to be like this, who, what if it comes back? That to me is called wasted worrying.
I had, the last 2 years have been pretty difficult. Yeah. I've had, in January of 23, what's that been, 22 months ago, 21 months ago, I do an annual checkup, and they found a mass in my lung. And we didn't tell anybody this. We had just signed up to run for this 4th term as mayor, and they did a biopsy, and they wanted a second opinion because this mass was really concerning, and they sent it up to IU, and again, my doctor's appointment, it fell on a holiday, a Monday, I believe. The doctor was open. Anyway, he was waiting for the IU results, and he called somebody up there who happened to be off because it was a holiday. So somebody else gave him the results, and he gets off the phone. I'm in there in the office with him when he's hearing all of this, and he's like, well, that was IU. This is bad news. And Dr. McMillan, who my wife Jamie worked with forever, took a very close look at this, and he had doubts. I don't think it's a mass. I don't think it's a mass. We scheduled a department head meeting with all of the department heads for the city of Jeff on a Tuesday afternoon to let them know Mike's got cancer. He's going to be going back down to Texas, and that meeting was, I think, going to be at 3 o'clock. And the next day comes, and 20 till 3, we get a phone call, and it was Dr. McMillan telling us they were wrong. It's not a mass. It looks like some tissue scarring from when you had COVID. And I'm told that COVID in the lungs has kind of changed some x-rays. So we're like, well, thank God, we canceled the department head meeting to tell everybody that. And earlier this year, I go back, I do my exam, February of this year. Well, guess what, Mike, that mass you had a year ago is gone, but now there's another mass. So, don't let a doctor's diagnosis change your life for the bad. Whatever somebody tells you, you can still work through it. Cancer gets diagnosed in people every day. It's not a death sentence. And even if they tell you, you've only got a 15% chance of survival, I'll take that 15% chance, and I'm going to give it everything I got, because here I am 18 years later, and I would encourage everybody to do the same. Don't let somebody else tell you what your fate is. And whether it's, a faith in my God, or it's a faith in whatever you get your power source from, I just can tell you all of the prayers and all of the holding of that cross and the prayers people gave for me it worked. And I'm here today because God was looking out for me, and I refused to say I quit.
That mass, that second mass, did you have to go through?
It's gone. It's gone. Which leads me to a whole new set of questions. How many people over the last 2 years are getting diagnosis from x-rays that it was something from COVID? So I do an exam every year. I just went and saw Dr. Harper last week. He looks over my blood chart. Mike, you're strong as an ox. You're stronger than ever. You know, you're a 60-year-old in a 40-year-old body. You know, all those push-ups are paying off.
They are paying off.
Yeah.
Last question for you. I mean, sitting in this office, I mean, people don't even run against you because, I mean, really, you're a bridge builder. I mean, people from all walks of life have embraced you. Obviously, the personal side, being a grandfather, I mean, all of that is in your faith. But what is it about this city that just makes you, I mean, you're on fire for it?
You know, my family moved here from Lexington, Kentucky. Before I was born, we had Jerry's Restaurant for 50 years. And Mom and Dad always told us, stay out of politics, because the restaurant business, you'll offend people. But it was the love Mom and Dad had for the city of Jeff. You know, growing up in Oak Park, I had this storybook childhood, and I had 15 sets of parents all around Oak Park looking after me. But I grew up here. I love it here. I wanted my kids to be able to say they wanted to come back here. I graduated in '82. A lot of people my age, they got a college degree and they moved someplace else. I always thought we had to do more in order to make sure people stay. And now when I hear kids in their 20s say, I want to live around Jeffersonville, you know, the opportunities and the possibilities were always here. You just had to tap into them. And we've had over 160 neighborhood meetings. I'm not a genius. I'm not this guy who's got all these ideas in the back. I go to these neighborhood meetings and I listen to what people are asking for. You know, we want nice parks. We need stronger schools. We need this road widened. You know, we need, you know, this walking bridge across to Louisville, Kentucky. We need a new marina. All of those ideas, all these changes that we've created have come from listening to people say, this is what I want Jeffersonville to have. Well, now we've got it, and you don't have to go across the bridge to go to a movie or to go to Clarksville, to go to, you know, a store to buy clothes. Opportunity's always been here. It's just sometimes, you know, Dad always said, you learn more from listening than you do from talking.